Christchurch, despite its name, is punished by God continuously. Event after event so serious I am uncomfortable making any specific joke. Yet in this dreary land was one of New Zealand's most powerful spellcasters, aptly named the Wizard of New Zealand. Correction, the government-employed Wizard of New Zealand. When the wizard first appeared in New Zealand, first originating from the forbidden shithole Britain, the police tried to arrest him, I can only guess because he's from Britain. They hated his shadow wizardry, they were jealous of his money gang, and indeed he did have a money gang, as one time he ascended from the one hill in Christchurch with 49 assistant wizards bearing tablets that had the URL to his website. Another act of wizardry he did was skydiving while chanting a spell for a rugby team to win. Truly unparalleled in the arts of wizardry. J.K. Rowling, truly go fuck yourself. But eventually, after enough wizard shenanigans, the New Zealand government was like, alright, here's money, cast spells for us, not at us please. The role's description was as follows: provide acts of wizardry and other wizard-alike services as part of promotional work for the city of Christchurch. However, as impressive as the wizard's many feats were, perhaps none of them could compare to his greatest: leading the Red Army in the Great Telephone Box War. In 1988, Telecom took over the telephone services in New Zealand from the government, and one of their first changes was changing the iconic red telephone boxes sprinkled throughout Christchurch into a gross pale blue. This enraged the wizard, as he believed the iconic red was a cultural cornerstone, giving honour to our British heritage.
Basically, it's an insult. It tramples on Anglo-Saxon spirituality. It's always been red. We know it is. It fits with the background. It's there like the red boxes and the fire engines. It's part of our tradition, our heritage. It's an insult to the people of Christchurch.
So he took to the streets and repainted all of them back to the sovereign red. But soon enough, Telecom retaliated, repainting them to the liberal blue. Thus, the war began in earnest. The wizard cobbled together a group of soldiers who marched out to repaint them red with increased efficiency. This brave group was to be dubbed the Red Army. Even in the face of insurmountable threats, such as a whopping $150 fine, he and his Red Army persisted. Telecom, getting quite fed up with the war already, proposed a ceasefire, while they conducted a study to see which the public preferred, honourable red or piece of shit blue. The Red Army accepted, yet during the brief moment of peace, a third-party terrorist group painted a telephone box a ghastly purple. With punctual speed, the wizard himself fixed it to the proper red. Finally, the results were in, and as expected, the people were on the side of freedom and liberty. 88% preferred red, 6% of sheeple preferred blue, and 1% respectively delusional people preferred yellow and green. 4% didn't care, which in retrospect may have been the correct option. Telecom reluctantly admitted defeat, and the wizard, the Red Army, and the people claimed victory and retained their magnificent red telephone boxes. Also, the wizard thought Telecom, the conniving fucks, didn't care about the colours anymore because they had begun tearing down the telephone boxes altogether and replacing them with plastic blue ones. Seeing the flames of war re-spark, the Red Army mobilised in full force to the cheers of the public, painting these monstrosities to the righteous red they deserved to be. Telecom thought they had the leg up, but the Red Army's many honourable deeds had moved the hearts of many, including the councils, who threatened to force Telecom to pay rent for every single telephone box they owned if they didn't bend to the grand whims of the people.
A dog in the manger attitude. I'd be very keen to look at rating or making them pay rent for these boxes like this one.
Again, Telecom relented and allowed them to turn to their rightful red. Unfortunately, the relentless Telecom have since pulled down all the telephone boxes. Yet a deal was made that one final red telephone box was to be left standing in the heart of Christchurch. Though their fight did not make permanent changes, their courage will forever be immortalized with this final telephone box. The wizard has since been fired from his position as New Zealand's wizard, seemingly over his comments about beating a woman. But this iconic scraggly old man reminds me of another iconic scraggly old man, the ever elusive Blanket Man. You may be curious, what made this man such a legend? Whispered on the tongues of every Wellington denizen. Well, you see, he was naked and homeless in a public space. Ooh. He was iconic for sitting on the intersection of the two busiest streets in Wellington, Cuba Street and Courtney Place. Since most people in Wellington travel to this area a lot, it became a literal cornerstone of the location. Blanket Man said his nakedness was a tribute to the sun god Tame Nui Te Rā. While the government couldn't easily force him to wear clothes, as a requirement for bail for one of his many petty crimes, the judge ordered him to wear underwear. But what was more interesting is how obsessed New Zealand got with this random naked homeless guy. There were documentaries, stage musicals, and when he died, a shrine was erected in his honour, visited by the mayor at the time and New Zealand celebrities like Sonny B. Williams. Tribute songs were even made after his death. We Kiwis really fucking love schizophrenic old people, but maybe it's in our Kiwi blood to be slightly odd. There is this concept known as Kiwi ingenuity. We believe we can fix any problem given enough corrugated iron, duct tape, and copious amounts of alcohol. World War II. Hitler is doing some seriously uncool things in some irrelevant far-off land, but it threatened the Queen of England, so we've been roped in. Now, despite being in the middle of the ocean and of no strategic value unless you want to invade the barren wastelands of Antarctica, Australia, we thought it was important to prepare a home front defense. And if you wanted to compete in World War II, you needed tanks. New Zealand had none. So one Bob Semple looked around and thought, well, we got tractors. So without any plans or blueprints, they set out about building a jury-rigged tank on top of a tractor. This tank, known as the Bob Semple tank, is widely regarded as the worst tank in the world. It was built from corrugated iron, as they assumed that would deflect bullets. Hint, it doesn't. The top gunner was put on a mattress, but good luck shooting anything because the tank would rattle around so much that a straight shot was impossible. It was also incredibly heavy, and you had to stop the entire thing to change gears. It was never allowed to go into production, but in response to being told his tank was a piece of shit, Bob Semple responded officially, I don't see anyone else coming up with any better ideas. Talking about World War II, this is a real ad made by a local chain in New Zealand. You may have noticed me referring to New Zealanders as Kiwis. It's a shorthand name for the denizens of New Zealand, named after the iconic, lovable, world-famous Kiwi bird. While they are cute and we have commodified them up the wazoo, they are near extinct, cannot fly, and their eggs take up most of their body. They are a girl failure personified in bird form. And in line with our military incompetence, in our infinite wisdom, we made this famously flightless bird the symbol of our Air Force. Heck, maybe we just don't understand birds. There is a country famous vote for the bird of the year, and in 2021, the winner was the long-tailed bat. Famously not a bird. But the Kiwi is native. It is unique to New Zealand. The same cannot be said for the British bullshit we call our towns and places. Wellington, Hamilton, Christchurch. Boring as fuck place names you can find literally anywhere else in the world. Which sucks because we have such cool names provided already by the Māori language. Like Uranui, which translates to big penis. Instantly way more relatable. I truly believe we should name places after the Māori names because they're so much more unique and we embrace the actual interesting aspects of our culture. However, this video is about how unserious New Zealand is, and the Māori are not immune to silly occurrences, like Urawera, which translates to burnt penis. Imagine you're a chieftain and you fall into a fire pit and melt your cock, and your people find it so funny they name an entire land after your now malformed penis. But I don't just love Māori place names, I also love Māori mythology. In particular, the one, the only, Maui. Not that Maui is Dwayne the Cock Johnson, and it is based off Hawaiian Maui. This is Māori Maui. Maui is a similar character to Sun Wukong, a mischievous hero who plays by his own rules. He plots against the gods for the sake of humanity, stealing the concept of fire or slowing the days down by jumping the sun and beating the shit out of it. But a less talked about exploit is his final one, his attempt to steal immortality from the goddess of death, Hine Nui Te Po, and how it resulted in his untimely demise. To do so, the trickster demigod hatched a plan to crawl up her cooch and come out her mouth, thereby reversing the cycle of life. However, as Maui tried to clamber into the goddess's cave, Maui's mate, the Fantail, found it funny as fuck and laughed his ass off, which I cannot blame. This woke up Hine Nui Te Po, who instantly crushed Maui with her meaty thighs and obsidian pussy. So while Maui went in search of immortality, he found something much greater, being decimated by a giant babe's thighs. Truly an inspirational hero. But look, having tales to chuckle at is healthy for a rich culture. I am proud of every tale here. They show the heart of the New Zealand people. But do you know what isn't chuckle business? Politics is the most serious thing. Everywhere in the world, it is never taken lightly. Every country puts forward their most serious people to say the most serious things, so serious business can be conducted. And New Zealand is also committed to the great tradition of serious politics, represented in our serious political party, the Makilakari Serious Party. In its most popular year, it garnered over 10,000 votes. To prove just how serious it is, here is me and two other political experts known as My Friends, going over their policies. Sending out intelligence agents around the world to wipe New Zealand off published maps, thus ensuring that no one can invade the country.
Well, hang on, how is there any corners? Or the world's flat and round?
You think the world is a ball?
I think it's an oblong, not gonna lie.
I think you're an oblong.
What the fuck, man? The diversion of aluminium production away from building US military aircraft and missiles to build giant space mirrors to melt the polar ice caps and destroy all of the foolish greed-worshipping cities of man in one stroke, thereby returning man to the sea, which he should never have left in the first place.
Wow. Personally, that is, I mean, I'm brought to tears almost at the beauty of, you know, it feels biblical almost.
I've realized the lies the media has been telling me, and I've realized I fucking hate Greta Thunberg, raising the school leaving age to 65. As you know, New Zealand is the first nation to achieve women's suffrage. Woo! Big round of applause. Remember that?
Yep,
That was...
I was there.
Yeah, I cried when that happened back in 1893. So this next policy is abandoning male suffrage. As you know, speeding limits are very useful for, making car crashes not happen. And this one I think will help out a lot. Limiting the speed of light to 100 kilometers per hour.
Well, I think this is just like common sense. Otherwise, there's one rule for me and not for thee. You can't vote on science. How do they make a decision? How do they find things out?
Very serious business. And jokes aside, and they better be aside, this is politics, goddammit. This party was not serious, despite its name. But that was in the past. We now take politics very seriously. Like Don McDonald, who ran for mayor of Wellington, affiliated with Our Truth, All But Whole Truth. His policies include NZ leads the World Simplify calendar, enable Partick community 12 times 6 times 5 plus 6 minus 6 divided by 8 minus 6 divided by 800. Mittidogus, Sun 1 to 7th, half, plus third, plus fourth. Depleted infinite cupboard. 1.5 plus 2 times 1 divided by 4 plus 4 pi squared 1 divided by 6 shows greedy demon. Selfish parking shouldn't. Repair planet. Trop population half. Virus. Car divided by 4. Flights divided by 8. Alcohol. Cigs. Movie concert. Rudetainment. Noise. Finally, the first mayor whose policies are an ARG. But hey, look, these guys didn't get many votes. They never got a seat in the House. They never actually could do any meaningful harm to our great country. They're just lovable schizophrenics. They're just old, lovable schizophrenics. We love our schizophrenics here. But when someone is in office, when we vote someone to office, It is very serious business. Always serious. Always very serious. In 1984, the Prime Minister at the time, Robert Muldoon, realised he was going to lose the upcoming election based on polls. That was, unless he did something drastic. In an unprecedented and highly risky political move, he walked up to the media completely piss-faced and announced he was going to call a snap election. Because of how sudden snap elections are, they are only called in times of great emergencies. Muldoon, however, just blatantly omitted the reason he did it.
We got a date, the 14th of July, which we've worked out at Government House as being the appropriate date.
That doesn't give you much time to run up to an election, Prime Minister.
Doesn't give my opponents much time to run up to an election, does it?
Incredible political maneuvers. This would go on to be known as the Schnapp election. He would also go on to lose the Schnapp election. Well, if we can't trust our government to be serious, we the people must be serious. The Waitangi Dildo Incident. Waitangi Day commemorates the signing of the Waitangi Treaty, the highly controversial treaty that essentially brought New Zealand as we know it into existence. A protester wanting to highlight how this treaty fucked the Maori people visited an interview with Minister of Economic Development, Stephen Joyce.
Without the Prime Minister, there was meant to be no drama, but then this.
My favourite part is no one takes it seriously. The politician is like, oh yeah, it's just a bit of fun. Everyone has the right to protest.
Oh, look, it's fine. I mean, I was a little bit surprised, but we actually thought it was a little bit humorous at the end of it all.
And the protester is like, ah, you got me. I'm such a scoundrel. The most Kiwi interaction in history, which just highlights how TERFs have no souls, as Posey Parker, a professional piece of shit, was sourced during a public speech in New Zealand.
Might have sourced. Nah.
Bro, what the fuck?
Like the coward she is, she pulled out from all her subsequent speeches and fled the country, not realizing by New Zealand standards she got off lightly. But hey, New Zealand is a country with no effect on the rest of the world, so what if we don't take our politics seriously? What could meaningfully happen down here in a country so far away from everyone else, with no relevance to any current state of affairs? Vladimir Putin was a KGB spy planted in New Zealand, undercover as a shoe salesman. We could have stopped him. We thought he sold souls, but he actually sold souls! And that is about the tip of the top of New Zealand shenanigans. There is so much more stupid shit we've done that I couldn't fit into this video, but I feel like these tales represent the spirit of New Zealand. I'm proud I have so many silly stories I can tell about our country, rather than being boring like your country Lamau got him. But if I have piqued your curiosity in New Zealand bullshittery, you need not stop here. Fellow slave of YouTube, Many Kudos, has 2 videos covering major historical events in New Zealand history, being the black market chocolate milk trade and the New Zealand flag referendum, which is the origin of the design on my shirt here, the Laser Kiwi. And for the more niche and down-to-earth topics, I highly recommend Guy Williams' New Zealand Today. It ranges from questioning why blackface was in a New Zealand parade to helping a random guy who stole a monkey get his girlfriend back. As for me, I'm going to do classic Kiwi activities such as bungee jumping, shagging sheep, and Lording the Rings.